Hello and welcome to Morris Park. I'm Clyde Morris. I just got done here finishing up the work in the park. We've been kind of at it for a few days trying to catch up from over the weekend. A little big O. Big O the video cat. Anyhow, we just kind of got done. Things are looking pretty good now that we've got some rain and the grass is picking up now. Didn't really have time to do any of this during the weekend because I had to put a radiator in my truck, which was an easy job putting it in and taking it out and all that good stuff. But all the technical stuff afterwards of getting air out of the system and all was a little more difficult, so it took almost 2 days. So I didn't have much time to do stuff here in the park. But now we got things kind of together. We've worked hard at it. Things are looking pretty good. A big old crepe myrtle there, full bloom. There you go. Yeah, so the park's doing pretty good right now. Now that we got everything squared away, I got time to do a video. And that's why I haven't done a video the last week or two. I've been really busy doing stuff. But anyhow, today's video basically is about staging. And staging can be most any size. Like you can have staging outside, such as this. You got it staged up to look like a piece of the desert. And this is kind of large. And the cactus behind there, the clyster cactus, is not planted in here. You see it's in a nice stoneware pot, kind of staged up on its own, with a agave staged up next to it. And people ask a lot of times, well, with all the staging and everything, is this necessary to grow a healthy plant? I mean, is staging any better than anything else? Is it better than my plastic pots that I keep my plants in? The answer is no. Actually, for practicality, the plastic pot is probably the best pot on the market for affordability and for just practicality. They're lightweight, easy to replace. You don't have to worry about cracking or breaking one because they are cheap. And so on the market, dollar for dollar, cent for cent, I'd say that the plastic pot is probably the most practical. And for people who just want a Spartan collection and they want more in their collection and fit more, if you can get a square plastic pot, that's probably the best because it's almost like putting little blocks together. You can fit them together real tight, and it's easy to get more plants into your collection. Now, the reason that we have staging is more not for the health of the plant, which actually, if you get down to it, it's probably harder to maintain them when they're staged than it is in single pots. Now, the other question is it any better than just putting it in a terracotta pot and going on? Not really, no. Terracotta pots are good too. The only drawback with some of the terracotta pots, and I still use them for staging too, is that the plants like to grow to them because they're made of a natural material. They're clay, so the plant draws its roots to it when it has moisture to it, and they tend to stick to this clay. So it's a lot harder, and sometimes you got to get out the master key, if you know what I mean, and unlock the pot. But of course, then you can't use the pot ever again. But anyhow, so terracotta pots are decent too. They have their own reasons for being used, especially if you live in humid climates. They breathe well. They don't keep water for a long time and tend to dry out better. Such as this one here, or where this Euphorbia resinifer is growing in. They may not look fancy or anything like that, but they are nice and earthy. I do like that about them. And you can stage in those too. But with that said, I'm kind of a sucker for a nice stoneware pot, as you see here. There's all kinds of stuff you can use in staging, such as real cool rocks with this old Mammillaria Hahniana. See that staged up there. And sometimes staging is good for the plant, probably better than a normal pot. In this case, to support the plant. Drawback, it's very heavy, very heavy. But it supports the plant, and this plant's over 40 years old and still going. But it needed that extra support to keep the plant going. Well, as far as things to put in staging, one of the things I like a lot is rocks. And so I collect up quite a few rocks, and I'm lucky enough to live out here in the country of the Ozarks, where you can find some pretty cool stuff. And some of these rocks like this, I don't even know what they actually call them, some kind of limestone rock, often have crystals and stuff within these little holes, so in the sunlight they really sparkle. Some of these, like this, came out of an Ozark spring, not far from us in Richland, Missouri, and they're very interesting. Sometimes you get these perfectly round ones like a ball. Those can be interesting to set a plant off. You can see back there I got various ones. I got this green crystal. I can't remember what it is exactly, but have that, piece of petrified wood. And these are all on standby for any kind of staging. I got some cholla skeletons back there. They come in handy too, to make some nice stagings. Now there's no real size limit on staging. Some can get quite large, and the only drawback on this too is weight. And if you like doing what I like, the rock pile style, it can get very, very heavy. So I suggest if you have a greenhouse, and you can, get yourself a two-wheel dolly or something like that to cart these plants back and forth between the spring and the fall when you got to take them in and out. This big Pelosos Azureus is in here with this Pachycereus pringlei, some Espostola down here. Here's Opuntia sunburst. It's a monocantha variegated Opuntia, I think. I believe that's what it is, but I think it's called sunburst. Sometimes your plants is just simple as having a cool pot with a lot of good top dressing. Now this one here is a hybrid. It's a Turrucale. Oh heck, I can't remember the other parent on this right now. Sorry about that. Stenoclada. It's a Stenoclada Turrucale hybrid called Briar Patch. You see, it's kind of like a Turrucale, but it's kind of got sharp thorns here and there, like for the branches, which you get from Stenoclada. It's in a pot that's, I don't know how old, I think it's from actually the 60s or so. I've had this many years, since I was like 14 years old. I've had this pot. Anyhow, another good example of using the rock pile is the echinocactus, or both the phaerocactus rather, the glaucescens, and I think that's a gracilis, the Opuntia, and some Hogwarthias, and some weedy euphorbias that need to come out. But cool rocks and everything. Now for some of these bigger ones, you may want to try something I just saw recently on YouTube, and that's a tabletop staging. And that's to take one of your whole benches, or maybe half a bench, and turn it into a little miniature landscape, and using all kinds of cactus and succulents. Now I saw this on Cactus Joe's channel. Cactus Joe is in Bavaria, Germany, and he has quite the collection, a beautiful greenhouse. If you haven't seen his channel, you need to go over and see Cactus Joe and take a look at his tabletop staging. He put a lot of thought into this as far as soils and drainage and the whole operation of the thing. He really thought it out well, and it's really a work of art. Man, you have to see it. It's rock pile style, just like I like. Lots of different cactus and succulents in it, and it's really nice. You really need to go and check this out right after you watch this video here. Now here's some other stagings here, larger ones. This is an organ pipe cactus. Right there. I think it's classified under Stenosarius, or it was Lamariosarius thurberi, I believe. But that's the organ pipe cactus. It's a really cool agave. It's called Rastaman is the variety. There's a Cleistocactus straussii that's right behind it. Aloe in bloom. I really get into this staging because it brings out the beauty of the plant. It's kind of like bonsai. If you kind of look at this from a little bit of a distance, this is my Euphorbia evansii, and as you can see, it's quite a well-formed tree. It's in a beautiful stoneware pot, salt glazed. Cool rocks, my little Asian gnome there. And you can get a little funky with it too. That's the Asian gnome. This isn't something I normally do as far as putting figurines or anything in them. Usually I go with a totally natural deal, but it just, he caught my eye and I just had to put him there. He's really cool. Like the way he looks down in there by the tree. As you can see, this is a very old tree. Started this from a cutting plant I bought from California Cactus Center. I had to do this two-step method on it. One time it even had 2 trunks, but one died out. There's a big tree, old tree. It's about 40 years old. When I got it, it was probably about 3 inches tall. So looking pretty nice. You can see our ground down here is still pretty sparse from when it was so hot. We had weeks of high 90s, low 100s, and it really kind of fried everything. But anyhow, yeah, these are just examples of staging you can do. And it's all about art. It's kind of like a bonsai. Now, I'm not directly putting this with bonsai. I know there's a lot of masters out there that probably look at this right now and say, oh, no, 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 this is not bonsai. But it's kind of the same principle. It's art. You're trying to bring the plant to its environment. You put it in a pot and you put some rocks with it and stuff, and it looks like it's growing right out of where it's supposed to be growing, in the desert or the savannah or what have you, or the side of a mountain. And I like that rock pile style because of that. It gives it that out of the desert look. And I'll show you some more of these in just a second. I'll kind of start right here on this shelf. This is Euphorbia ruginosa. And this is a pot I made probably over 40 years ago. It's looking like it's busting out of the pot. It's stoneware. Real fitting. This is Euphorbia grunewaldii. I got it kind of in the rock pile. And the bowl that it's in is actually a cereal bowl, believe it or not. It's part of some dinnerware. Cost a few dollars. You notice the inside is kind of lava rock red, so it kind of matches the rock down here. Looks like there's a dead fly down there, or a bee. Anyhow, I like the stagings to really look natural like this. This is Euphorbia enormous. I have a little Italian terracotta pot, kind of plain. It's got a little geode there. See the caudex? Part of a geode there. A little bit of staging there. My Euphorbia macalensis. I've got this kind of staged up. This little tight knits pot. But that's an old mixing bowl, stoneware mixing bowl. And of course I cut the holes in the bottom so they drain well. And they look beautiful in some of these. I'm going to show you some examples here in just a little bit that are really fantastic. Now this is a special Euphorbia to me because this is one that's a gift from the pollinators that come in and out of the greenhouse that hybridized my Euphorbia evansii with a Euphorbia stellata I had. And this is Euphorbia enigma, because for a long time I couldn't really tell who the father of this was, and I just kept watching the plant form, and then figured it out. It was the evansii. Stellata mother. I no longer have it. It's got a beautiful caudex. It's kind of in the rock pile style there. I love the rocks. Love the pot. It's a cool pot. Nice stoneware. And I have it hanging because of the way these branches are. They're just real long and they grab everything. That's probably the only reason I didn't bring it down to look at, because it does snag on everything. So I just got to leave it in there. And you can see some of my euphorbias here. I just kind of got them staged up. Sometimes simple, like the Seriiformis and the Canariensis growing together there. Some of the other ones that are just clustered in the pot. They're just in nice pots. Horrida striata. Well, this one's just in a nice terracotta pot. This is the thing. Terracotta is still cool. All these pots grow plants well. There's not a pot really that doesn't grow it well unless you're using a peat pot or something like that. I try to stay away from a lot of black pots in full sun. I do have black pots like I just showed you. But try to keep away from them in full sun because they heat up too much. So they stay in the greenhouse. Use fossils and stuff sometimes too in staging with this Lactea crest, this tricolor crest. It's a variegated euphorbia. But some crystals back there, a little chunk of crystals. Trilobite. Same with this one. Some cool rocks in there. Nice lava rock. I prefer lava rock to most. All looking pretty nice. Another one I have here. This one's got a lot of bark on it. This is Euphorbia polyacantha. It's down there. It's got some really cool rocks and stuff it's staged up with. I got a piece of bamboo holding it up because it is quite tall and don't want it to fall over. A Euphorbia Francoisii. Stage up another cereal bowl. Colors kind of match it real nicely. Got this plant at Drummond's in DeSoto, Missouri. The only cactus nursery I know around, well, it's at least 2 hours away from us. What a beautiful staging. This is an interesting one that's made out of an old fountain. Of course, I put holes in the bottom to let it drain. The fountains don't last around here because we have a lot of lime in the water, as you can see by where it trickled down. But it made a real nice staging. It looks like natural rock. I actually siliconed some rocks to it. Arrowhead in there. One back in there. And these are real arrowheads that we find these in the farm fields and stuff when they're plowed in the springtime. And sometimes in the fall when they've harvested and it's all washed down. In the creeks and some of the caves around the area, you find them. Such as this Cephaloceria senilis. Had this one for quite a while. I basically just got it staged up with a lot of broken pieces of arrowheads I found. Sorry for shaking there. I've had a mosquito attacking me. And these are all real. These come from from what I know that I've researched, come from like the archaic periods. It was anywhere from, I think, from 4,000 to 8,000 years ago. Find a lot of these tools and stuff around in these fields, especially near the rivers. A lot of these farm fields near the rivers and above the rivers are old campsites. You find them washed out from the rain, or when they plow, they wash out. A lot of times they're broke up in the fields from the plow. But yeah, you can use stuff like this too that work for staging. Nice pot, nice plant. Now the plant behind it is one of those calanchos or calanchoes or whatever you would like to call it. That's the Mother of Thousands group, and it's a tubifolia, I believe is what it is. And I've had these things forever and ever. They just come with the plants I bought from California Cactus Center when I used to be out there. But a nice staging. Now, a beautiful plant is definitely a beautiful thing. And this little Decarii in this little tiny pot is just the bomb. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful little plant. I got this only a year ago. It's growing out really nicely. It's going to be a shame when I have to probably transplant it next year. It just goes with this pot so well. And it does look like a little bonsai. Stage it nice, rock pile. All in there from what you can see of it. It's grown over most of it. Beautiful little plant. Along with its cousin here. This is Euphorbia Decarii, our Spirosticha. It's in a nice low chocolate terracotta pot. I've had this thing probably 40 years. Beautiful. It's got some rocks in there to accent it. I love this plant. It's a very beautiful plant. Let's go see some really nice stuff. These are a couple really nice ones here. I just recently got this from Norberto Carcamo in Miami, Florida. This is a Euphorbia resinifera. It's in a beautiful pot. Been real nicely staged up. It's been growing really nicely since I got it. A lot of new growth there. Except for right on the tip. A little bruised on the tip, so it's taken a while. All these others have grown out. Also, this little Trichocereus I got at the Missouri Botanical Gardens in St. Louis. Little Trichocereus brevispinulosus. Called the corncob Trichocereus or Echinopsis. A nice little rock pile there. It's growing out of. Love the way that looks. Both of them very awesome. Let's go check out some more. Now this is where I say that staging resembles bonsai. Is when you start getting down into ones like this. This is Euphorbia persistens. It's a beautiful plant in an actual bonsai pot. Rock pile. Beautiful rock pile. This plant has so much character. It's just beautiful. All the striping. Yeah, awesome. Beautiful plant. Now this one is a Euphorbia pulvinata. It's a nice low container. Again, like the rock pile, most of my stuff is like that. Beautiful plant, old plant. Got this at Doyle's Produce in Dixon, Missouri, as a single little headed plant amongst a bunch of bedraggled looking cactus and succulents they were trying to sell. They really looked pretty bad, but this was in the middle of it and I recognized it was Euphorbia and picked it up, and it's done very well. It's got a real hard grown look to it. Kind of barked up. You can see it's healthy with all the leaves. Beautiful. Beautiful plant. This is Euphorbia lennutonii. I got this from Dad's Native of Cactomania. Got a pile with lava rock and some spring rocks. Really awesome little plant. It's grown real well. And some of it just gets simple. A simple staging with a nice pot, with a beautiful plant, and some good top dressing. This is Euphorbia gabazan from Alan Peck up there in Michigan. Ecorse, Michigan. It's starting to grow its leaves back out after being shipped. Things kind of go through shipping shock sometimes. They lose their leaves. It did. But they're growing back. And here's where it gets even small. This is a little Euphorbia melliformis variegata. Got this just recent. Nice little staging with the crystalline little spring rocks there. Be cool. This is a Euphorbia serrata. This is one of my hybrids. This is a hybrid between Seriformis and Herrita. Real grower. It puts out offsets just like crazy. I've got it staged up another one of those cereal bowls. And you can see in this one the red color of the inside. That's why I like them. As well as this mini Medusa. Some fossils in there. Some other rocks. Cereal bowls, I really like them. They're really cool. And this is a Mammillaria plumosa. And I thought that I was going to lose this one. You can see some of the heads are kind of dead there. They're kind of hard like cork. But they grew out, and it came back for me. Big old rock there, staged up. Nice old terracotta pot, kind of rustic looking. Really fits the plant. Euphorbia gorgonus, another Medusa. This is in an old mixing bowl. Like I said, of course, I put the holes in the bottom. Pretty cool. And this one is a Monodenium Richii variegata, and staged up in a coffee cup. There's sand rose in there with it. This was sent by Daz Needed of Cactomania. Thanks, guys. It's been a beautiful plant. Just got through blooming. Awesome. Behind it, Euphorbia richardsii and a chili pot. If you look at this pot, it looks like it's right off the desert. Look at that. Just like right off the desert. Awesome. Really fits the plant. I've got it sitting on top of the lid. That's actually the lid to the pot. Now this one's a pretty special one. I really love this one. And this is Gymnocalycium saglionis. And I have these potted up in different pots. The three in front were together. I actually bought them together. They were kind of a cheap end of the year cactus sale thing. And the bigger one I've had for a few years. This is all out of spring rocks and lava rock. You see some of the quartz crystals in there. Really nice plants. All these rocks, big spring rocks. Really cool. This is the kind of stuff you can do. This pot that it's in is actually a baking dish. And I cut 2 holes in the bottom to give it really good drainage. And then planted it up, and it turned out beautiful. And that's the kind of things you can do. If you get a Dremel tool, you can do all kinds of stuff like that. And cut holes in pots and such. Or if you get some kind of masonry kind of bit, it'll cut through stoneware real nicely without breaking it or chipping it up. I rely on my Dremel tool. Works really well. But this is just a beautiful planting right here. Next to it, in a soup cup. And this is just another simple staging. No real rocks around or anything except for the top dressing. And I like top dressing. I do think that's kind of a plus in growing your cactus and succulents. Even if you're not staging them and you're just using a plain old pot, you put some kind of top dressing on. It kind of keeps the soil from washing out around the roots and stuff, and all that perlite from puffing up there so much and being so noticeable. So I always like to put some top dressing on it. But really went well with this soup cup. This is Ferrocactus macrodiscus. This is another one I got from Norberto. I bought this one from him. Offered it for sale. Beautiful plant, and Big O's giving it a brushing. Yes, Big O. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Anyhow, this is another case of the staging is helping keep the plant up and growing well. So in this case, the staging is very beneficial for this plant. And this is a Trichocereus thelagonus crest. It'd be known as an Echinopsis probably now. I've had this for quite a few years. It was just like one little crest, about that big when I first got it. And it grew out to this, but it's a trailing cactus. Once it gets going, it just trails all over the place. And so the crest does too. So putting it in a rock pile supported the plant. And yeah, that down there is probably dried up and dead. It's not anything that's going to harm the plant, I don't believe. It's just kind of dried up like an old piece of wood. But the plant is growing very well in its rock pile. You can see all the cool rocks holding it up, growing in amongst it. Looks great. This is an Astrophytum cluster. I got this here. Nice low blue pot. I had it in another pot, but this thing started growing so fast that it was squishing itself in the pot. So I took it out and gave it some room. There's some arrowheads in there too. Half of one back in there. Really a beautiful plant. And just a case of a nice staging. It's just a real pretty staging. There's another one. A plant that's really just very common. I got this for like $10, the plant itself, in a farm and home store actually. And the bowl and the plate underneath it I got at a flea market, but they weren't at the same booth. They were at different booths and they match beautifully. And it really set this plant off. The gold spines and the colors in the pot are awesome. Love this staging. In case if it doesn't have to be a rare and expensive plant to look beautiful. But anyhow, I just kind of wanted to share this staging with you. Staging is really actually very easy, but in the long run, as far as weeding and maintaining them, it's a little harder than just growing them in single pots, to where everything's nice and Spartan. You can get to it real easy, weed them out real easy. So it does come with a little work, but you get a beautiful piece of art that grows and changes constantly. Just spectacular. Beautiful plants. Anyhow, it's getting late. The mosquitoes are having a lot of fun with me right now. So I'm going to get off of here. I hope you enjoyed seeing this staging tour and kind of my explanation of it. Staging may not be necessary. I've been watching a lot of the shows on YouTube and so forth, and people doing a lot of staging. And I really love what they're doing out there. Cactus Joe, you've done a wonderful job on your table staging. Everybody out there needs to go check that out. As soon as you get off of here, check out old Cactus Joe there. They're in Bavaria, Germany, and he can show you a staging that is awesome. Anyhow, this is Clyde Morris from Morris Park and Big O the Cat saying, have a great evening. Take care.